Hey, what's up, everyone? We're here with Alec Lauzière. He's an acoustic guitar player, singer from Windsor. Alec, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Corey. I'm happy to be here.
Okay.
I was just a whisper, living in a crowded room, but now there's blood in my veins these days. Always just a specter, a ghost.
All right, Alex, so for people who haven't heard of you, tell us a bit about yourself, what you're up to and what you've been doing, and how you're getting out there and playing.
Well, a bit about myself. I'm born and raised in Windsor. Moved out to LaSalle, where we're shooting briefly with my family, but then I'm living back in Windsor now. Right around the Walkerville area. Started playing, actually it's funny, I came across a little, I think it might have been a Facebook thing or something, and it kind of dated when I played my first open mic. It was a May 2008 message from somebody, and it reminded me that, yeah, that's kind of how it started. I played drums on and off when I was a kid, informally, no lessons or anything like that, but my dad always had a kid around, so did that, but wanted to sing at some point, and it's tough to do the Ringo Starr drum kit solo singing thing. Not too many people would sit and listen to that, so I had to learn how to play the guitar. And my younger brother Nico, who you know, was always a guitarist, so there was always an axe laying around somewhere. So I would pick that up and kind of struggle my way through tabs and stuff like that. Thank God for the internet. Yeah, and then after a few years of that, my parents, I think, saw that I was struggling around with his stuff, so I think at one point I got a birthday gift or something. I got an acoustic, an Art and Lutherie, Canadian made, and yeah, so I think according to that message about May 2008, I went and played my first open mic and just kind of went from there. Started playing open mics a little bit more regularly, to hosting open mics, to playing solo shows and stuff like that. Kind of flash forward to what's going on more recently. Last year, I was part of a trio that is no longer in effect at this point, which I'm sure we all know how that stuff goes. But it's a good experience. It's just that kind of stuff happens. And yeah, and then last year I actually had a chance to record in studio a couple, well, my first two singles, I guess, and I actually had Jeff Burrows from the Tea Party play drums on them for me.
If anyone wanted to check those out, where could they find those? They're up online somewhere? Or?
No, not yet. They're about 90% done.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, again, because of the whole band disintegration thing, and that kind of caused a delay in things. But yeah, they're about 90% done. I've got to do a little bit more guitar work on one of them. And the other one is just about a final mixing session away from being finished. So,
where did you record those? You said?
I recorded those with Marty back at SLR Studios.
Cool.
Yeah. So locally as well, keep it local.
And did you get a bass player too on that?
Yeah. Actually, the bass player was part of the band that I'm no longer with at this point. So that was another kind of reason behind taking my time to move forward with it, is it was, we had to kind of figure out how that was going to go. But I think he's off doing some more stuff, which is great. And I got to keep on moving forward with my project and my stuff, right? Yeah, you're smiling. Yeah, man, it was.
It's so hard to put a band together, even a three-piece band, like the way that I'm doing it too, where you are like the Josh Homme or the Dave Mustaine of the band. You write everything. The songs are yours, and you need a bass player and you need a drummer. And even then, it's so hard to keep it together.
And honestly, and like you hit it right on the nose about that, man, because that was. I'm not going to get into it, because I don't want to, sling mud around here and there. Everything, it's done, and that's fine. But it was the conflict between, these are my songs. We've gone and fleshed them out. It's like, I don't know. I guess the one thing I would say to anybody who's out there watching and pull musical projects at the same time is have those tough conversations up front. Have them up front, even if they're uncomfortable. Take the Band-Aid off and like get it out there, because you don't want to get 6 months into a project and then have, even if it was a completely even miscommunication on everybody's part, you don't want to have that conversation 6 months into a project where like money has been spent. And so that's what I'll say about that.
Well, one thing that I learned, in the words of Ronnie James Dio, band needs to be democracy with a dictator, right? Or else it's just a bunch of guys saying, I don't know.
And taking that to its furthest logical conclusion, that may mean that the band doesn't exist anymore. And that's kind of how that played out. It was like, if this was a real democracy, I wouldn't be saying this is done.
Yeah.
But it's not, because like you said, one person has probably contributed more than others, and that's when it kind of takes off on that tangent. But anyway, yeah, so definitely have those rough conversations ahead of time and get them out of the way, and that'll be a good filtering mechanism for, can I work with these people in the long term anyway. So
yeah. But I think Jeff Burrows, like he's definitely someone who would do spur of the moment things like that, jump in on in the studio. But as far as having a full-time drummer, it would be, I think, near impossible to get him on board, especially now that Tea Party's going again. So it's cool that he helped you out in the studio, and you have that name there too, and obviously he'll talk about it, and that'll help spread the word.
Exactly. Yeah, and I mean, I never had delusions. I've been so thankful, and like anywhere I can help him out, I do, because really, I mean, the guy came in and volunteered like a night in the studio with me, and I mean, that was. Yeah, and on top of, taking a minute to point out that, he really liked my tunes, and like he didn't have to do that, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I was like, that was, if I never talk to the guy again, if he never does a thing, like I owe him anyway, because that was huge. That was really cool. Yeah, it's kind of funny how those things come about. Like in my instance, bass players are impossible to find. I turned into a pirate. I started going to shows and approaching, cherry picking, yeah.
Looking out for good bass players and approaching them after, offering them money, drugs, booze, women, men, whatever they're into. The bass. It took me 2 years to find a bass player, and when I did, I started, like I said, I was a pirate. I'd go on Kijiji. And it came to the point where I wasn't just looking for a bass player available anymore. I was looking for anything. So when somebody had an ad that said vocalist needed, I respond to that and be like, and try to like find the bass player, like be really sneaky, like what's your name, creep them on Facebook, find out the whole lineup of the band, then like message the bass player and send them like all my recordings, try to wow them.
Like, this is where I am. Do you want to be a part of it? Yeah, man, you got to go guerrilla in that stuff, nowadays, especially in that, like the digital age, man, because everybody's out there, and it's like the odds are maybe you're going to be a better fit. Maybe your outfit's a better fit for some guy that's out there, because maybe that's the only band he knows. So he's part of it, but maybe he wants more, or maybe. Yeah,
and it might seem bad, but here's my outlook. When my old band, when I was the singer, sometimes we'd have conflicts. It was really my first serious band, and maybe I wasn't the best singer yet. And I always said to them, if you can find a better singer than me, replace me, and I'll have no hard feelings. And actually, it happened to me with the old band Jamology, really? That Nico was in. When I was first starting out, I sang for them, and I wasn't quite there yet, and they booted me out of the thing because I wasn't at their level. I wasn't as good of a singer as they were at their instruments, and I had no hard feelings at all. So like when I do that, like if I like steal someone, it's how is that not right? They're doing what they feel is best for them, right?
Yeah, I mean, even if you think of it, I mean, we're all, it's tough to get to that point where you're self-sustaining money-wise, as a musician. But if you treat it like, if I'm out there doing this, and sometimes I end up having to pay to go and do this, right, as opposed to getting paid to do it, I'm allowed to take it seriously. Like if I'm out there and I've decided this is this thing, just like you, Corey, like I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this. And you know what? There's a huge number of people out there. I hosted a lot of open mics, which I mean, you used to watch some of the people that would come up. And it was like, it's cool. If you're down with just, you know, hanging out and having a good time and you're just going to hack your way through a tune, not in a derogatory way, but, you know, just kind of get through it and have a beer, and that's cool. But if you're somebody that takes it seriously, if there's something, you know, whatever that thing inside of you that you need to push a little bit harder at it, you got to take it seriously like that. You look at it like a job. Like if you're sitting there and you're in a shitty little company, but you know you've been working hard and everything like that, and then another bigger, more established company that's going to be able to make a better spot for you comes along and says, "Hey, come over here." No one's going to say no to that. You'd be out of your mind to say no. So it's the same in music, man. Like you got to be ready to step up, and that's it. And I mean, people out there are more than happy to give you the axe if you're not, you know, where they want you to be.
Yeah.
At the same time, they should be more than happy that when another opportunity, when you've outgrown the fish tank and somebody comes to take you up to the next level, they should be happy about it. There shouldn't be hard feelings. So I agree with you on that. And it's funny because as soon as you said that about being ruthless and having to make that decisions, I had like a flashback to this last situation where I was in, where I had to kind of make, do I stand up for myself and my, you know, my art, for lack of a better term, or do I, you know, lay down and be a doormat? And I mean, I don't want to do that. I want to stand up for myself, and if that means making some tough decisions, you do it. And I don't think that's ruthless. Like, I know, I see where you're coming from when you say it like that, but I just think, like, I don't know, man, life's too short for that. Like, you go for it, right?
Well, and you're in the position right now, in the words of Dave Mustaine, you have your whole life to write your first album, right? So you can do stuff like that, like figure it out, get your lineup solid, and we're at an advantage right now. Like me and you are kind of in the same spot. We're like like underground right now in a way, so we can get it just right, and then show it to the world. You know, when it's ready. Might take a year or two, might take 3 years.
Exactly. No, and you know what? You're totally right. And like I've definitely vacillated back and forth between like, oh, I'm taking too effing long, and then I'll calm down, and this exactly like you're saying, Cora, is like I can take as long as I need to. Like I'm 30, man. Like I'm way past the like gotta get signed at 16 or 17. That I just had that conversation actually with a buddy of mine, and he was like, he asked, you know, is it hard right now? Like, is it hurting you inside to have the day job and not, you know, go full steam at it? And it was like, I'm like, yeah, man, but at the same time, I mean, there are guys out there that, you know, did it, you know, late, had a career, and like, and still, and not to think like I'm gonna blow up and be something, but you can work at it. You can take the time. Like, as long as my thing way back in the day was like, you know, there were days, man, I'd come back from one of those open mics and just like put the guitar down and be like, I'm done, and like I'm done. I'm never. And then after a couple of days, I'd begrudgingly walk back over and open it up and start playing again. It's something I really love doing, for better and for worse. I like writing music. I like playing. I like singing. Right. So it's like, it's that resolve, I think. It's resolving in yourself that if this takes 4 years to finish an album, my first EP, that's cool, because I'm gonna enjoy the process. I'm gonna hate it at times. It's gonna piss me off and hurt me, but I still overall I love doing it. I love the idea, and I love getting it out there where people are like, "Wow, that's yours. That's great." So I like you said, we're in a cool position where there's no expectation. And that sucks sometimes, because it's like, oh, nobody wants to hear it. But at the same time, like you said, it's free.
I think, like we're sitting here, you might think, oh, I want better numbers, I want more people to hear me, I want to be more popular. But if and when we get to that point, then we'll be thinking, I miss those days when I could just sit around in my underwear all day and play my guitar and not give a shit who hears it or anything. Like, it's so. Sometimes it happens where you almost forget that you just love making noise. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you might get mad that some people are doing better than you. You think that you deserve it more, and then you just remember, like, I do this because I can just crank up my amp and just play some power chords and rattle the fucking windows, and I love that. Yeah. That's why I'm doing it.
Absolutely, man.
If the truth be told, it's only my name. Snaps out flash, always looking back, you know the images